Welcome to Leaders Front, where real leaders talk about real leadership situations. We have some of the best leaders come in from government, from sports, from entrepreneurship, from business, all types of organizations. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Sims, author of Leading from the Front. And today I'm extremely excited to have a guest with me by the name of Kay Johnson. She's the executive director of Harbor, a shelter for domestic violence in Clayton. We are happy to have you, young lady. How you doing?
I'm excited to be here this morning. Thank you.
Well, we are excited to have you on Leaders Front. I know you're the director of Harbor, but before we get started, because man, I got some questions for you.
Oh, wow.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you grew up, and how you kind of got into that role as executive director at Harbor.
Oh, wow. So I grew up in Johnston County, as my grandmother would say, born and reared in Johnston County. Graduated from Smithfield Summer Senior High School. So I'm a Spartan.
Spartans, go.
As well as UNC Charlotte.
Okay.
Wanted for me, after I left, went and graduated from college, I wanted to come back home. And I wanted to be able to give back to a community that gave to me. So ended up working at Department of Social Services for a short period of time. And then my mentor, one of my many mentors, Lee Hudson, who is no longer with us, afforded me an opportunity to be the first director of Johnston County Youth Services. And that started my leadership journey.
Wow. And that was a nonprofit also?
That was a nonprofit also,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then how did that lead you on to Harbor?
I was with Youth Services for about 10 years, had an opportunity to come home and be a stay-at-home mom with my two sons, and work with other not-for-profit organizations in Johnston and Wake County. And Lee, again, was told that Harbor was looking for an executive director. And actually, Lee shared my information with the board of directors, and then he contacted me and said, I really think you need to apply for this position. And I applied for the position, and ended up, I've been at Harbor now close to 10 years.
Wow, that is amazing. And you got a staff of about how many?
I have a staff of 19, plus we contract with 10 individuals as well. So close to a staff of 30.
So talk a little bit about, because there's some intricacies that you all deal with as far as, when we think about a shelter for domestic violence, you deal with court systems, judges. Can you just talk about how that whole thing kind of works?
So, yeah. So first of all, Harbor has been in existence now for 41 years.
Wow.
Providing services in Johnston County. And so it's our mission to provide comprehensive services for victims and survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And oftentimes, when I first arrived at Harbor in 2016, the community see Harbor as a shelter, as a temporary shelter, providing services for those who are in imminent danger. But we have grown beyond shelter. We have a court advocacy program where we have advocates at the courthouse. So if anyone is interested in filing a domestic violence protective order, then those advocates are there to help them through that process because they are filing legal documents. And although we are not attorneys, the advocates are there to at least provide them with some understanding on how to complete the paperwork for a domestic violence protective order. Another service that we have is called the Sahari Project. And the Sahari Project is our forensic service project where we provide services for individuals impacted by sexual assault.
Okay. Okay. So let's get into some of the leadership things that you have to deal with, because that's a lot of emotional things that are going on, difficulties. You have a lot of trauma situations and things like that. So what type of leadership style do you have that not only supports your staff, but also support your clients?
For me, I share with staff, it is their responsibility to ensure that they are providing trauma-informed services to the clients, to the
Mm,
victims and survivors that we serve.
mm,
Um, and they do that through advocacy. They advocate for them. And that could be through, again, through the court system, ensuring that either the clerks of court or the judges, judicial system, law enforcement, that they understand the needs of that particular individual. But it is my responsibility to ensure that that staff are receiving trauma-informed leadership.
mm,
And so what I mean by that is, as a leader, I need to be present for staff. I need to be able to hear staff, hear not only what they're saying when we're having a conversation, but also I need to be able to see them. Because oftentimes, one thing I can say about trauma,
mhm.
you don't know when it's going to show up. And so the reality is, we have all experienced some type of trauma in our lives, whether as children, as teenagers, and even as adults, we have experienced trauma. And there are certain things that may occur within your day that may trigger that trauma. And so, as a leader, I need to be able to see staff. I need to be able to know my staff well enough to know that something has shifted in them, and may cause them not to be to show up 100% as they need to in working with those victims and survivors.
Mm. That's really, really impactful. But you said something in there in talking about as far as with the staff. So how do you keep that balance within yourself? Because I always talk about this,
Mhm.
right? I've heard this 1,000 times. I ain't like I'm the first one to say this. You're leading. You can lead people, but the first person you lead is yourself.
Ooh.
So how do you also balance as far as, because that's a balance in that,
It
right?
is.
Because you got to make sure with them, but you also got to lead yourself. And I think yours is really unique because of the fact that you're having to deal with trauma
Yes.
constantly. It's one thing for me to have to deal with a profit line,
Right.
right? It's one thing for me to have to lead everybody to get this product done, but trauma is emotional. So how do you deal with that and looking at that even within in yourself to make sure you good and you clear
Mhm.
before I go on and get over there to them,
Right.
because I can't be messed up
Yeah.
and then deal with them too.
Right, right. Yeah, that is true. So I'm very transparent
Mm,
with staff.
okay.
I can recall probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I was noticing, because 95% of my staff are female.
Interesting.
And I know that oftentimes as females, we come with additional challenges.
I'm glad you said it. I didn't
I
say that.
said it.
I didn't
I
say it,
said
y'all.
it.
I didn't say it.
I
She
said
said
it. And it's reality.
Right. I love that.
And I would say to them, I think it's probably time for you to take a PTO.
Right.
And they would take it,
Mm,
but I would still be at the office working.
mm,
And I found myself again sharing with them, but I was not mentoring that behavior.
mm,
And life happened, and I decided, okay, it's time for you to make sure that you're in a good place, because it's difficult as a leader for you to pour into someone
mm.
when you're empty.
Right.
And I found myself empty
Mm,
and unable to pour.
right.
And so I had to step back for a minute.
She's dropped the nugget, y'all. She just dropped the nugget.
And so in stepping back, now I'm not only sharing with staff, okay, you need to take PTO. I'm being intentional in making sure that I too am taking PTO.
Mm,
PTO for me may look different. It may not be an entire week.
absolutely.
It may be a day or two within the month, but at least it allows me time to step back and reflect personally, as well as to reflect professionally.
Mm, mm. I love that, and I do want to throw in too, just so the audience knows. Yeah, you said the females they had their own different challenges.
Mhm.
Males do too,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, yes, they
Males
do.
do too. But you did identify the both of them
Right.
and stuff. So I love that. Because in the shelter, burnout is real, right? It
It
can
is
be a
real.
real challenge. And you just said one of the ways you look at empowering your staff, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is you're talking about as far as letting them to take PTO or
Mhm.
whatever. What about, do you do any kind of things from retreat perspectives or try to get them out, to get them as far as focused back on the same mission, or understand what your overall goal is, what you're wanting to do
Yeah.
each year, every day and stuff? Talk about that a little bit.
You talked about burnout,
Hmm.
and so it is real
Hmm.
among advocates. It's called vicarious trauma.
Wow.
Um, when you are
Did not know that.
hearing the trauma of someone else, and not only hearing someone else's trauma, but seeing the trauma. Because we see when you talk about domestic violence and sexual assault, yes, it's emotional, yes, it's psychological, but we see the physical as well.
Mm.
And when you have advocates and we're seeing that on a daily basis, we want to make sure the advocates are in a good place. And so you mentioned retreats. One thing that our board of directors afforded us this past year was an opportunity to take 2 retreats.
Mm.
That staff had an opportunity to go. The first retreat was centered around them just taking care of themselves.
Mm.
There was, yes, we had activities planned, but all of the activities were planned around them. So, for example, opportunities were given for them to journal about their personal thoughts. We made sure that we share with them that there was no specific agenda or set time.
Hmm.
Because if they wanted to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, or if they wanted to be up at 10 p.m., for them to journal, to talk, to kind of reflect personally and professionally. And the second retreat was an opportunity for us to really do a deeper dive around the work, around the industry, when you talk about intimate partner violence. And so it's difficult, the question that you asked me earlier, you share with staff, but what about you?
Hmm.
And so we kind of turn that around. Okay, we talk to clients about their trauma, but who's
Hmm.
talking to you about your trauma?
Right.
And so there were workshops set aside for staff to address their personal trauma and really take a look at that.
Wow.
But also something, because we can't, do retreats every year.
Right.
So what do we do on a consistent basis to make sure that that staff know that they are valued and we are going beyond the trauma?
Mm.
One thing I identify when working with staff is I can teach or train someone to be an advocate, but staff, individuals, they come with their own assets, their gifts and talents.
Hmm.
And so what we've been able to do is identify those gifts and talents and allow staff to utilize those in the organization. So it
Mm.
takes them out of the mindset of hearing and being involved in the trauma all the time. And then it allows them to do things that they enjoy doing. So for example, I have one staff who's very artsy. She's very creative. So this particular staff, any of our marketing material that needs to be created, she has an opportunity throughout her day to create marketing material for us,
Wow.
whether it's through the website, whether it's through our social media platforms, or even our rack cards, as brochures that we call them. She
Right.
can create that. If we're having an event, then she is the one that's facilitating what marketing material needs to be there. Again, she's creative.
Mm.
So that allows her to really move into her creativity. I have another staff member who is an event planner on the weekends.
Wow.
So when this past for Christmas, she facilitated her committee And we had the 10 Days of Harbor. And so through her, along with her committee, but with her leading that committee, we were able to do things like we had scavenger hunts at all of our at all of our sites. We had a luncheon where we sat down. She wanted to know all of our favorite Christmas songs. And she created a playlist for that.
Right.
So in her event planning, she created and she planned the 10 Days of Harbor.
I think that, I do want to touch upon something right there, because as a leader, I think that's one of the things that we miss out on. And I love what you're talking about. What I mean by that is you said that you found something from that person that has nothing necessarily to do with that job description. But there's a talent, there's a gift there that can benefit the organization.
Oh, yes.
I think in any company, in any organization, with any mission, and I said this on a previous show, I was talking about as far as having relationships. And I just think that word gets misconstrued. And as you go to learn that person, learn everything about them, then you can look at, and it helps twofold. Well, first of all, it's going to help the company.
Yes.
Or it's going to help the mission,
Yes.
or it's going to help the organization. Secondly, it's going to make that person get buy-in towards what you want to do at the vision. And I think as a leader, we don't do that enough. And I think in our, as we're doing our day-to-day operations and the things that we're looking at, we shouldn't get so caught up in whatever that is, whether it's leading to build this product, to completing this, actual mission, to understanding that person.
Exactly.
And again, I'll say it 1,000 times. You'll probably hear it more than anything on this show. I talk about the me to we, and that encompassing that we part is a action part.
Exactly.
It's not much, people like to say that, teamwork. Yeah. But what does that actually look like? And as I hear you say that, that's what that, actually looks like. Your role requires internal leadership and external leadership, because you're within the the organization and then outside, because you got to be the face for Harbor.
Exactly. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about how you look to balance that on the day-to-day operations, because you're getting pulled in this direction here. Then because you please correct me if I'm wrong, because part of your structure is you have an executive board or whatever stuff. Yes, I serve on the executive board.
Yes.
And you also, again, you had all the workers, and then you have to, balance with the court people and all that. Talk a little bit about that.
It can be challenging. So when I first started working at Harbor, I had this ideal of what a leader is supposed to look like. And in my mindset, it was more hierarchy type of leadership. I soon learned that we are, as leaders, we're leading people. And it is important for those that we lead to know that we value them. And so the difficulty for me has been being very involved in the day-to-day as an executive director. But what I found was, especially as we grow as an organization, and you stated it, I am the face of Harbor. And so the community needs to be aware of the face of Harbor. And as our county begins to grow, 10 years ago, we looked totally different as a county. Industry is moving in. The rooftops are increasing. And so
Domestic violence
is increasing. So how do I make sure that I have that balance? How do I make sure that staff that they know that I'm there to support?
Right.
But more importantly now, how do I grow this organization? When I first started at Harbor, we had maybe 10, 15. Now we're at 30.
Wow.
And so with that growth, I have learned in the past, I would say 3 years, that I cannot be the one, and I should not be the one that is trying to oversee everything internally,
Mm-hmm.
plus make sure that I'm in the community.
Mm.
And so that's identifying what does the organization look like. And I have an opportunity once I leave here, I'm going to take my own personal retreat.
Oh,
And I'm going to take a few days to really look at what does Harbor look like in the next 3 to 5 years.
that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
And that means me, yes, continuing to be the executive director, but are we now moving, or have we grown to a position where there needs to be an associate director?
Mm.
And to be the role of that associate director to look at to be involved internally with the day-to-day. And that allows me to really be out there in the community, because we are not for profit.
Mm.
And our funding is grant funding, but also we receive unrestricted dollars from the community. But if the community is not aware, if they have no knowledge that we're there,
Right.
then they don't know to give.
Right.
And so if I have an opportunity to start being intentional, being more in the community,
Mm-hmm.
and letting people know what our specific needs are, because grant dollars, one thing that we learn about grant dollars, that is not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee. And so I really want us to look at a sustainability plan,
Right.
financial sustainability plan for our organization. And so that is being in the community, networking with our community stakeholders, letting them know what our needs are. And then it is my hope that they will give to our organization.
Let me ask you this question here. This might be our last one. We'll see here. But what would you say in the course of time that you have been the executive director?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, would you say that if you've grown, because you've been there, what, 4 or 5 years now?
I've been there almost 10.
10. Wow.
Yeah, almost
wow.
10 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So have you grown as a leader?
I hope so.
You have.
I have grown.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
I've grown as a leader.
What would you say was your leader's front moment? What was the moment that you said, you know what? I am stepping up, and now I am a leader. I'm because would you not think or feel that you were? I'm not going to say that you were weak in leadership,
Mm-hmm.
but your leadership skills needed to grow for the time.
most
you did.
definitely.
So, what would you say was your leader's front moment when you had a situation or a thing that came up? You got to get into the down and dirties of it,
Right.
because with domestic violence, I know you got certain things.
Right.
It might not even be with that. It could be with staff of the organization, or with your board of directors and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. What was your leader front moment?
Wow, I think my leader front moment was when I was in my vehicle going to an event, and it had been a very challenging week.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Thursday, and I was going to an Athena leadership event, actually.
Oh, the awards event.
The awards event. And oftentimes in my vehicle, that's my time of reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a voice say,
Heard the Lord say.
I heard the Lord say, thank you.
Now go ahead on with it now.
I heard the Holy Spirit say, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be open. I heard the Holy Spirit say to me, you're too much in the weeds.
Mm, mm, mm.
And I said, what does that look like? So it looks like what I just spoke of.
Right,
In order for the organization to grow,
right.
then there's certain things that I have to step back.
Mm.
And I heard you had Derek Thompson on the show.
Right.
And Derek talked about trust.
Mm.
And there had been some challenges there that had caused me to mistrust.
Mm.
But the Holy Spirit again was saying, it's time for you to start to trust. Not necessarily your people,
Mm.
but put your trust in me.
Mm.
That because I placed you at Harbor, and I really believe I was placed at Harbor, you need to move so that other people can move.
Mm.
Other people, you can't develop other people if you're in the way.
Right.
And so my leading moment was I was in the way of other people being developed as leaders.
Right.
And so that's why again, for this weekend, I'm going to step back and reflect and look at who's currently at Harbor. Who can I currently begin to develop? Not just personally me developing them, but sending them to affording opportunities for them to attend leadership classes so that they can grow and to become the leader that they are destined to become. I don't want to stop that. And so I was stopping that because I was not willing to move out of the way. I was in the weeds. And then too, there was some fear there of what it looked like. What does it look like for me to move?
Transparency.
What does that look like? And so it looks like being okay that I'm not a leader like you.
I don't know about all that.
I know I'm not. But the leader that I have been purposed and destined to be, to become, to evolve into, being okay with that and being ready to take that next step.
I love that. I love the transparency in that and just being open and realizing where you're at, because you have to realize where you're at to know where you're going to go.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, before I close here, you all have a gala coming up February. Can you talk about that? That's February
21st.
February 21st.
Yes.
And is at the farm? That's
it's
correct?
at the Farm on 42
Right.
In Selma. Well, Farm on 42, Selma.
And if there are any
address.
tickets available, they can go to
They can go to www.harborshelter.org. It is our black and white gala. It is a signature event for our community.
Usually sells out.
It does sell out. So once the tickets go on sale January 6th, I do advise you that there's very limited tickets.
Yes.
So I do advise you to go ahead and secure your ticket because you do not want to miss this event.
Kay, I cannot thank you enough for coming on this show and sharing your Leaders Front moment. You all go to www.harbor.com and you can look at getting tickets to .org, for this event. And it is a signature event, and it's a really good one. Again, we want to thank Kay Johnson, Executive Director of Harbor, for being on this show. She just shared real leadership moments. That's what we're looking at doing here on Leaders Front. So, hey, again, looking forward to the next episode where we got some real surprise guests that's coming up. I thank you all again. And again, this is Dr. Mike Sims, Leaders Front. I'm out.